Big energy special interests would rather turn Idaho into California's battery than sell power to actual Idahoans. Residents in Twin Falls, Jerome, and Minidoka counties were shocked to learn that a new federal initiative would do just this. Joe Biden's Bureau of Land Management, or BLM, received approval for the Lava Ridge Wind Project this week. The updated project would install hundreds of towering wind turbines. These turbines would plug into Idaho Power's system, but would also supply a larger power transmission project that would direct electricity to Nevada and California. Bitcoin could have benefited the grid far more than the Lava Ridge Wind Project, but special interests have their own plans. So on this week's episode of Fiscal Fridays, we dive into the issues with the Lava Ridge Wind Project and how it is negatively impacting sound money policy in the state of Idaho. So here's an overview of what the federal government is buying exactly when it comes to Lava Ridge. The Lava Ridge Wind Project is managed by the Bureau of Land Management, which will allow 15,000 acres of land to go to the project. BLM claims they compromised with objections to the project by reducing its overall size. However, they are still set to install more than 240 660-foot tall wind turbines on the land. This land was once used for cattle grazing and serves as a sage-grouse habitat. The news that the environmental impact statement was approved this week is rather shocking, actually. A 10-year study was commissioned by the University of Idaho to demonstrate that cattle grazing doesn't negatively impact sage-grouse habitat. But one can bet that the 600-foot bird blender is likely going to have a negative impact. This project was not entirely BLM's doing, though. The turbines will be constructed and owned by Magic Valley Energy, a subsidiary of the Texas-based grid developer LS Power. This company will sell the power generated to Idaho Power and transmit the energy to Nevada and California. This is accomplished through another federally charged initiative called the Southwest Intertie Project. The Intertie Project received more than $331 million in federal support. But don't worry, LS Power says that they will be sure to set aside up to 1/10 of the power generated from the wind farm to Idahoans, but the rest will leave the state. What people don't know is Idaho is actually giving more than it's taking when it comes to electricity. According to the Federal Energy Information Administration, Idaho is a net exporter of energy, even before the installation of the Lava Ridge turbines. The most recent data from last year shows that Idaho net exported 9.7 million megawatt hours of electricity to other states. Idaho is already California's battery, so to speak. This is a resource that we could be leveraging for our own purposes here in the Gem State. So what's the money tie-in here? The answer is Bitcoin. Despite how advanced our society is, we still haven't figured out how best to store energy. Batteries aren't efficient enough on a grid power generation scale. Thus, power generation must match the demand curve and waste any excess. So what happens when demand spikes suddenly? The grid, particularly on so-called green energy, can't keep up. Diesel generators called peaker plants are used to help provide enough to accommodate the new load. But if Idaho invited Bitcoin mining data centers into the state, these facilities could act as a battery of sorts. Bitcoin miners use excess energy because it is the cheapest power. But as the demand goes up, so does the price. This incentivizes miners to give power back to the grid in times when there is a spike. This means that the power companies can produce a constant amount of electricity, but have an instantaneous responsiveness to the demand on the system. This is accomplished because Bitcoin mines are just warehouses of computers. You can turn off individual computers at a moment's notice and give power back to the grid. This is something that other data centers, like those for Amazon, Facebook, and AI, don't have the luxury of doing. All this is to say that instead of Idaho selling our power to California, we could be better leveraging our resources by using Bitcoin to harness the excess power. Meanwhile, we get the added benefit of securing the blockchain protocol of what is becoming an increasingly valuable asset to consumers and the United States. To close, the lava ridge is poised to make Idaho the battery of the Southwest, but it doesn't have to be that way. For one, the Trump administration should put a stop to these expensive green new scam projects that don't actually help the environment that was once harmlessly roamed by cattle. Instead, Idaho could capitalize on the advantages of Bitcoin mining to keep this power and use it to propel our state into prosperity. But it seems our state lawmakers are going to have to wrestle back power from special interests, both literally and politically. Thank you for taking the time to watch this week's episode of Fiscal Fridays. Please consider liking, subscribing to, and sharing our content to spread our message of small government, fiscal responsibility, and liberty. Also, our 2024 Pork Report is dropping on Wednesday, December 18th. Be sure to go to idahofreedom.org/24pork to sign up to get your free copy today.